He's 68 years old, former boxing trainer, former cornerman, former witness to the impossible. The doctors say he has maybe 72 hours left. Stage 4 lung cancer. It started in his lungs, but it doesn't live there anymore. Now it lives everywhere. In his bones, in his blood, in the spaces between who he was and who he's becoming. His daughter sits beside the bed, holding his hand. She thinks he's sleeping. He's not. He's trying to decide whether to take his secret to the grave or set it free. For 25 years, he's kept it locked away. Never told his wife. Never told his kids. Never told another soul. Because Mike Tyson asked him not to. Because some truths are too heavy to carry and too dangerous to share. But Matt's running out of time to carry anything that he opens his eyes. His daughter leans in. Dad, you okay? Need me to call the nurse? I need you to call Steve Lott. Who? Sports journalist. ESPN. His number's in my phone. Tell him I have a story about Mike Tyson. Tell him it's about Tokyo. Tell him if he wants the truth, he needs to come now. His daughter looks confused. Dad, you need rest. You can talk to reporters later. There is no later, honey. Matt's voice is weak, but certain. There's only now. And I've been quiet for 25 years. I promised Mike I wouldn't talk. But Mike's not the one dying. I am. And I'm not taking this with me. Taking what? Matt closes his eyes. He can still see it. Tokyo Dome. The lights. The crowd. Mike Tyson on his back, staring up at nothing. And the moment their eyes met across the ring. The moment Matt understood what Mike was doing. The truth about the biggest lie in boxing history. 3 hours later, Steve Lott walks into that hospital room with a digital recorder and a notebook and 23 years of sports journalism experience that hasn't prepared him for what he's about to hear. Matt Baranski looks smaller than his frame suggests. Cancer does that. Hollows you out from the inside. But his eyes are sharp, clear, like he's been waiting for this moment. You know the date, February 11th, 1990. Matt asks. Steve nods. Tokyo. Tyson Douglas. Everyone knows that date. Tell me what you think you know. Steve sits down. Mike Tyson, undefeated heavyweight champion, 37-0, considered invincible. Buster Douglas, 42-1 underdog, journeyman fighter who'd never beaten anyone significant. Tyson came out of shape, partied too much, didn't take Douglas seriously. Douglas fought the fight of his life. Knocked Tyson out in round 10. Biggest upset in boxing history. Matt smiles. It's sad. That's the story everyone tells. It's a good story. Clean. Simple. Makes sense. Explains how the impossible happened. There's only one problem. What's that? It's not true. Steve's hand moves to his recorder. Matt sees it. Nods permission. The red light starts glowing. Mike didn't come out of shape, Matt says. I was there for the entire camp. He trained harder than I'd ever seen. Up at 5 a.m. every day. Road work. Bag work. Sparring. He was in the best condition of his career. And he didn't underestimate Douglas. He studied tape for weeks. Knew every tendency. Every pattern. Mike Tyson never underestimated anyone. That's not how Cus D'Amato raised him. Then what happened? Matt takes a breath. It rattles in his chest like stones in a jar. 3 weeks before the fight, I walked into the gym early. 5 in the morning. Mike was already there. Shadowboxing. But something was wrong. His technique was perfect, but there was no life in it. Like watching a machine run a program. Then he just stopped. Middle of a combination. Stood there staring at himself in the mirror. Steve is writing now. Fast. Not wanting to miss anything. He started talking. Matt continues. To Cuz. Cuz had been dead 4 years, but Mike talked to him all the time. Usually asking for guidance. But this time was different. He said, Cuz I can't do this anymore. They turned me into something you didn't want. I need to lose. That's the only way out. Steve's pen freezes. He said he needed to lose 3 weeks before the fight. I heard it clearly, but I didn't understand what he meant. Not then. Matt shifts in the bed. His daughter adjusts his pillows. He waves her away gently. This story needs to come out in one piece. You have to understand what Mike Tyson was in 1990. Everyone saw the champion, the destroyer, the baddest man on the planet. But I saw something else. I saw a 23-year-old kid who lost his father figure, got surrounded by vultures, and became a product instead of person. Don King owned his contract, owned his image, owned him. Every fight was about money and promotion and spectacle. Mike wasn't fighting because he loved it anymore. He was fighting because he was the machine, and the machine had to keep running. Steve asks, "When did you know for sure he was going to throw the fight?" Round 8. Matt's eyes go distant. He's back there now. Tokyo Dome. The noise. The heat. The weight of 52,000 people watching history happen. Mike came back to the corner. His face was swelling, not puffing up, but his eyes were clear. Too clear. I shoved the water bottle at him. Started giving instructions. Set up the right hand. Break him down. The things cornermen say. But Mike wasn't listening. He was looking past Douglas, past the ring, at something I couldn't see. Then he looked at me, really looked at me, and he said, "Matt, what happens if I just stop?" I didn't understand. I said, "Stop what?" He said, "All of it." The 10-second warning sounded. He needed to stand. Go back out there. But he just sat on that stool and said 4 words I'll never forget. Steve leans forward. "What words?" "I'm going down, Matt. The hospital room is silent except for the morphine drip." Click, click, click. He said it calmly, like announcing the weather. Said in the next 2 rounds he was going down and he wasn't getting back up. Told me not to stop the fight, not to throw the towel. Let happen. Said he needed everyone to think he was finished. Then the bell rang, and he stood up and walked back out there, and I realized I just heard Mike Tyson tell me he was about to throw away everything. What did you do? Nothing. What could I do? Stop the fight and tell everyone the champion wants to lose? They'd think I was crazy. Think Mike was having a breakdown. So I just watched. Round 9, round 10. Buster Douglas was winning rounds, but Mike was letting him. Not in an obvious way. Just not pulling the trigger. Not throwing combinations. Giving Douglas space and time and confidence. And then Douglas threw that right hand in round 10. Matt closes his eyes. Sees it frame by frame. It wasn't the hardest punch Douglas threw all night. Not even close. But it landed clean and Mike just let go. Fell. His back hit the canvas and I saw his eyes. They were open. Clear. Aware. This wasn't a knockout. This was a choice. He could have gotten up. I know he could have. He'd been hit harder by better fighters and gotten up. But he just laid there, hands flat on the canvas. Not pushing. Not moving. Just resting. Like he was finally allowed to rest. The referee counted. 1, 2, 3. Mike's eyes found mine across the ring. And I understood. He was asking if I'd forgive him for staying down. Asking if I'd let him do this. And I just nodded. Because what else could I do? 4, 5, 6. I watched the baddest man on the planet choose to stay on his back. Choose humiliation over slavery. Choose losing over being what everyone needed him to be. 7, 8, 9, 10. Matt's voice cracks. First time in the entire story. It was over. And everyone in that dome thought they just watched the impossible. The greatest upset in sports history. They had no idea they watched a prison break. Mike Tyson didn't lose that night. He escaped. Steve stops writing. Looks up. Why didn't you tell anyone? Because Mike asked me not to. The morning after the fight, I went to his hotel room. He was sitting in the dark. Hadn't slept. Hadn't moved. Just sitting there in the quiet. And you know what he said to me? What? He said, "For 4 years, there's been noise. Constant noise. People needing things. People telling me what to be. But right now, after the biggest loss in boxing history, there's no noise. No one's calling. No one's knocking. No one needs me to be the monster. I'm free." Then he looked at me and said, "Matt, if you ever tell anyone what really happened, they'll try to put me back in that cage. Promise me you'll keep this quiet until it doesn't matter anymore." So I promised. And I kept that promise for 25 years. But I'm dying now. And Mike's not in a cage anymore. He's found peace. Has a family. Has a life beyond boxing. So maybe it doesn't matter anymore. Maybe the truth can finally come out. Steve sits back. Processing. Do you have any proof? Any evidence? Matt shakes his head. Just my word. Just a memory of a dying man who was there. You could believe me or not. But I'm telling you the truth. Mike Tyson threw that fight. Not for money. Not because he was weak. Because he was strong enough to choose losing over being owned. Strong enough to walk away from everything rather than be what everyone demanded. That's the real story of Tokyo. Not about an underdog pulling off a miracle. About a champion who decided his freedom was worth more than his title. About a 23-year-old kid trapped in a machine who found the only exit available. And it took more courage to stay down than it ever took to get up. The morphine drip clicks. Matt's eyes are getting heavy now. The story is told. The weight is lifted. Steve asks one more question. Why do you think Mike did it? Really? Matt thinks for a long moment. Because Cuz D'Amato taught him to be a fighter. But Don King and the rest of them tried to turn him into a product. And somewhere between the two, Mike forgot who he was. The only way to remember was to stop being what everyone needed him to be. To lose everything so he could find himself. You know what the saddest part is? Everyone still talks about Tokyo as Tyson's great failure. His collapse. The beginning of his downfall. They have no idea it was actually the moment he saved himself. That taking that fall was the bravest thing Mike Tyson ever did in a boxing ring. Steve Lott leaves the hospital 2 hours later with a recording that will change boxing history. Matt Baranski dies 4 days after that interview. At his funeral, his daughter finds a letter in his belongings. It's from Mike Tyson, dated February 12, 1990. The morning after Tokyo. It says, Matt, thank you for letting me fall. Thank you for not stopping it. Thank you for understanding what I couldn't explain. Last night, I lost everything the world said mattered. But I found the only thing that does. Myself. One day, when it's safe, tell them the truth. Tell them Iron Mike Tyson died in Tokyo. And maybe, just maybe, Mike can finally figure out how to live. The letter is handwritten. The ink is smudged in places. Like tears fell on it while it was being written. Steve publishes the story 6 months later. The boxing world explodes. Some people believe it. Most don't. Call it conspiracy theory. Call it disrespectful to Douglas's legacy. Call it impossible. But those who knew Mike Tyson best read it and go quiet. Because deep down, they always knew something was wrong that night in Tokyo. They just didn't want to see it. Buster Douglas, when asked about the story, says only this: I fought the man in front of me. I fought him with everything I had. What was going on in his head? I can't say. But I know this. It takes more strength to walk away from power than to hold on to it. If Mike chose to let go that night, then he's stronger than any of us knew. Mike Tyson himself never confirms or denies the story. When reporters ask, he just smiles that knowing smile and says, Tokyo was a long time ago. I'm not that person anymore. And that's all that matters. But people who were close to him notice something. After Matt Baranski's story comes out, Mike starts talking about Tokyo differently. Not as his great failure, as his great liberation. February 11th, 1990. The day Mike Tyson lost everything and saved himself. The day the most dangerous man in boxing chose to fall and stay down. Not because he couldn't get up, but because getting up meant going back to being something he couldn't be anymore. The greatest upset in boxing history wasn't an upset at all. It was a man choosing freedom over fame, choosing truth over image, choosing himself over the monster everyone needed him to be. And 25 years later, the only man who knew the truth finally told it. Because some secrets are too important to take to the grave. Because the truth about courage isn't always about getting back up. Sometimes it's about having the strength to stay down. For more videos like this, subscribe to our channel and support us by liking and sharing our videos. I fought him with everything I had. What was going on in his head? I can't say. But I know this. It takes more strength to walk away from power than to hold on to it. If Mike chose to let go that night, then he's stronger than any of us knew. Mike Tyson himself never confirms or denies the story. When reporters ask, he just smiles that knowing smile and says, Tokyo was a long time ago. I'm not that person anymore. And that's all that matters. But people who were close to him notice something. After Matt Baranski's story comes out, Mike starts talking about Tokyo differently. Not as his great failure, as his great liberation. February 11th, 1990. The day Mike Tyson lost everything and saved himself. The day the most dangerous man in boxing chose to fall and stay down.